the Lake Area Business Beat, the official podcast of the Lake Area Regional Business Chamber of Commerce. Today, I'm your host, Jamal Bell, bringing you the latest buzz from the heart of our region, where innovation meets opportunity and community drives success. Each episode will spotlight local leaders, rising entrepreneurs, and game-changing initiatives that are shaping the economic future of the Lake Area. Whether you're a seasoned business owner, a startup dreamer, or just love keeping up with what's going on in our backyard, this podcast is for you. Let's dive in, connect, and grow together. Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, and welcome to the Business Beat podcast presented by the Lake Area Regional Business Chamber of Commerce. Have you ever been to an event where the photo booth line was longer than the food line? Those moments, the laughter, the props, the instant memories don't just happen by accident. Behind those experiences is an entrepreneur who turned creativity into a thriving business. Welcome to the Business Beat, the podcast of the Lake Area Regional Business Chamber of Commerce, where we highlight local businesses and entrepreneurs making an impact in our community. Today, we are joined by Arthur Woodard, owner of A2J Photo Booth, to talk about his entrepreneurial journey and how his business is helping create unforgettable moments across the Southwest Louisiana region. Arthur, welcome to the Business Beat.
Thank you very much for having us. Excited to be here.
Yes, super glad to have you. So, tell us about yourself and what inspired you to do A2J Photo Booth.
So, myself personally, I am homegrown. I'm from Lake Charles, born and raised, so much so to where Calcasieu Parish School Board reared me, John F. Kennedy Elementary School, believe it or not, Raynard Middle School, and then the class of 2001, Lake Charles Boston High School. After completion of high school, I went to Atlanta, Georgia, studied computer science, and I have a minor in math from Morehouse College. In 2005, found my way right back to Lake Charles because it was so near and dear to my heart. So was happy to come back and participate in all of the wonderful things that were happening in our community. So that's me personally.
What inspired you to start A2J Photo Booth?
Fantastic question. So 2016 is the incipient stages of when it all kind of came together. I was at a birthday party, my cousin's 40th birthday party in Houston, and there was this apparatus that this team was setting up, and I noticed it because I got there early, and so I was there doing setup time, believe it or not. And I went over, I just asked the young man what was that he was setting up, and he told me it was an open air photo booth. And I immediately became fascinated with the device because he set it up so fast.
Mhm.
And then when I asked him how much my cousin had paid to have it there, his response blew me away. It knocked me off my feet. And so that was the inspiration behind it. It made a lot of sense afterwards once I was able to kind of look back and we kind of got it off the ground because I've always been an aficionado of nice pictures. Never knew it would translate into a viable and sustainable business, but I've always liked nice photos. Even way back in school, I was always the person who had the camera in middle and elementary school. And so when it's time for class reunions and stuff, I have all of the files because I was the one taking all of the pictures.
All right.
And so that was kind of the inspiration and how it kind of all got started. Left that event, and in a week's time, I had a name for the business. I had done all of the research for it. And 7 days later, I had secured the loan to get all of the equipment. And here we are 10 years later in 2026. So that's kind of how the business got started.
All right. Well, thank you for that. You definitely answered my next question. What services does A2J Photo Booth provide?
So that's a great question. What we do formally is we offer a fun, innovative, and interactive alternative to standard photography. And so growing up, you had the portrait studios where we would go for our prom pictures. And you remember the Olin Mills of the day where you would go to the mall and do the family portraits. And so basically what we've done is we've taken a similar concept, but we actually bring it to you and put all of the elements of a studio in a kiosk that has some really cool LED lights. It has wonderful speed lights, so all of our pictures are well lit. We bring a DSLR camera to our events, so the quality of each individual image is high quality. And so that's what we do. We offer a fun and interactive and innovative alternative to standard photography. So to answer your question, the services we provide, we do traditional photo booth services, right? So that's basically your guests, they come, they enjoy, they take a fun picture, they can hold a prop. We'll print it out for them on the spot. We'll text it to their phones. But as we started maturing and matriculating and maneuvering in the business, I started noticing opportunities where we could offer additional services. So in addition to the photo booth services, we do event photography. We are now dipping and dabbing our hands in event videography, and now just recently added 360 photo booth experiences to our fleet. Still, that one is still trying to grow on me. I'm not a big, huge fan of 360s, but there's a demand for it. I get asked for, do I provide that service all the time? And so it only made sense from a business perspective to start getting my feet with the 360 video experiences.
And what type of events do you typically serve?
So we've done everything from your standard wedding receptions to your birthday events. We do any type of corporate event you can think of, and then we'll go into your house. And we've even done house blessing events. We'll do church events, pastor and church anniversaries. We've done those. And so anything that you want to document and have a memorable experience surrounding it will definitely show up and service those events.
And what makes your photo booth experience unique?
That's a phenomenal question. So I'll take a shot here and I'll say this humbly that when we started, there was only one photo booth I could remember in Lake Charles at the time. And it was a company named Paparazzi Photo Booth. And I remember that when you would show up to their events, it was this huge, big, I guess, area that they would need to set up their unit. I remember you had to get into a black curtain to access the booth. And so nobody really saw you taking the picture because you went behind the curtain, kind of like you do at the mall. But I remember seeing it at some event, and I remember the output was not high quality. The lighting was low. The pictures were dark. They did print it for you on the spot, but I just was not kind of blown away by that experience. And so when I saw that unit in Texas, I was like, there's nobody in Lake Charles doing this. And so that's was the inspiration behind it. And so I knew initially when I brought the business to Lake Charles, I wanted a high quality photo, right? I wanted a photo that was well lit. It was clear and clarion. That was number one. I also was not a huge fan of that big black box, is what I kind of called it, right? And so that's where the open air concept came in. We don't have per se an area that you would go in. It's just kind of out in the open. And so that is one of the unique qualities we bring to the business. One of the other unique things we do is we shoot, and I mentioned this earlier, we shoot with a DSLR camera. So we use Canon, all of our products. So we have speed lights. So every individual photo is well lit. We have custom overlays that we do for our event that kind of depicts where you are. So you're at this particular wedding celebrating John and Christy, or you're at this 60th birthday party, and all of our overlays are custom. And so you will never see the same overlay twice ever with any event that we do. We have a really cool workflow that we do with our clients that gives us specific information surrounding their individual event. So you'll never see a duplicate custom overlay. We offer electronic aspect to our experience. So after guests take their pictures, they can either text it to their cell phone, email it to themselves. And then of course, the icing on the cake is when we can print the 4x6 print on spot in real time and hand it to the guest as a keepsake at whatever event a guest shows up to.
Wow, that's amazing. You offer a whole lot of
Yes, sir.
TJ and photo booth. I love to hear that. What advice would you give someone wanting to start a photo booth business?
So advice, this one is kind of twofold for me because it's unique to who I am. And so the first thing I would say is if you're serious about starting a business, be legitimate. That's that's the first thing. I'm kind of blown away by all of what I call Facebook businesses. And as soon as you go and look them up on the Secretary of State website, you can't
Can't
find.
find them.
And so, and I say that from this perspective. There's a level of seriousness about a small business that I think entrepreneurs should hold key to their heart. And it speaks to the organization and preparation that it takes to start a business. There are a lot of social media businesses, right? But long term, they're hard to be. They're not sustainable long term because it just kind of speaks to that they didn't do the necessary work to make sure that it's a necessary business. So that's more of a personal thing for me. So I would say just be organized. That's the word. Organization, preparation. Anybody who knows me personally, they'll tell you structure and organization is big for me. And so be organized in your approach, know exactly what you want to do, and then make sure that you connect yourself with people who are already doing what it is you know you want to do. And so that's the second piece of this. Find you somebody who you can trust, who can mentor you in all aspects of what it is you know you want to do from a business aspect and acumen. And I think that'll help get you off the ground to start your business.
Thank you, Arthur, for that great advice on today. And how important is community support for your business?
Well, it's everything. I mentioned this. We are now, believe it or not, 10 years in business this year. And I'm kind of blown away by it because literally remember being at my cousin's event, watching them set up that apparatus. And here we are 10 years later and only getting stronger. And I say that humbly because now we're in a position to, as we talked about earlier, just offer so many different services. We have several units, so we can now go to 2 and 3 events the same evening at the same time. And so that has just kind of transcended us into the next level of the service we provide. So it's everything, right? Because the community are the people who we service, right?
Right.
And so when it's time for an event, whatever type of event it is, I'm always careful and cautious about making sure that I provide the best customer service and client experience possible because I know that I live in this community and as good as it's going, it can quickly turn the other direction if I'm not always cognizant and aware of the service that I provide to the community that I grew up in. That's the other piece to this. So I love this community and I always want to make sure that I'm putting my best foot forward when it comes to the service we provide. And what I've learned now, this is more along a business, is that so yeah, we do have new clients that we attract at events, and that's always the goal, right? If I can attract a new client at an event, then that'll keep me in business. But what I've discovered is that it's the residual of the clients here locally in our community who have us for all of their events. And so now I'm looking up 10 years in and I can look back and say, wow, I've serviced this event the last 7 years, or I've serviced this Mardi Gras ball the last 5 years, or I've watched parents who hires us for their child's birthday party and we started at the fourth birthday and now they're 10 and you get to grow up with the community and so it's just a wonderful thing to be so connected and engaged with the community that I grew up in and that I love so much. And so that's why the community support aspect is so incredibly important.
That's great. That's wonderful. What's next for A2J and how can people book your services?
So what's next? 10 years in, we actually doing a huge road to 10 years.
Okay.
So
Lovely.
follow us on all of our social media, socials, because that's where we're doing the campaign. And so what we're doing is we're going back and highlighting all of the things that we've done the past 10 years. And we started in January and talked about our very first event we serviced. We talked about our very first wedding we serviced recently. We're getting ready to roll out some new things from an equipment perspective. We just added another unit to our fleet. We call it the Venture, which is it's just a sleeker design of what we've already been using with our equipment. And so again, just expanding services, event photography, videography, 360 photo booth experiences. So that's kind of the cool things that we have coming down the pipeline, but ultimately it's the same fun, interactive and innovative photography experience that you've seen us in during the last 10 years.
And what are your social media handles? Phone number, email, all that?
Sure. So at the number 2J photo booth on all platforms. Our email address is a2jphotobooth at outlook.com. Our web address is www.a2jphotobooth.com, and our phone number 337-901.
Well, Arthur, thank you so much for joining us on today and sharing your story with our listeners. If you're
Sure.
planning an event and you want to create fun and unforgettable experiences, please reach out to A2J Photo Booth. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to the Business Beat, the podcast of the Lake Area Regional Business Chamber of Commerce, where we highlight businesses as well as leaders in our area. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Be creative. Inspire others.